sick that I can remember before ever. This flu epidemic is phenomenal. It's not being funny, but it's life taking because I was laying there Saturday morning, not really knowing if I was going to make it back to Raleigh alive. It's a hurtful thing. It's a hurtful thing. So I'm going to say that if you have any symptoms of the flu, please get checked. Please. I'm not one to go to the doctor. I'm not one to subscribe to the doctor. But I'm gonna say, get checked. Trust me. If you don't, you're putting yourself and your family at risk. So get checked. I want to also apologize for any coughing that I may do. I don't have the flu, but I still have the remnants of the flu, which is, it's going to be that lingering cough for a week or two. So I just want to apologize up front for it in case I end up, if I can't, you. So I just want to apologize for it up front. And so our discussion this morning is basically, we're going to be talking about submitting your way to success. And I know some of you are probably saying, how can you as an individual submit your way to success? How can you submit your way to success? And it's very simple, but it's something that is very hard to do sometimes, especially for those of us who have an ego, so to speak. Especially for those that are a dominant. Okay, you have a very dominant personality. It's very difficult to what I just do. But it's very difficult because when we're a dominant, we are the type of people. And great morning to you, Pastor Moore. Excuse me. There it is. And so we're very dominant. In being dominant, we have a tendency not to want to submit. We see submission of something that's weak, being weak. Submission is not weak. Basically, I'm going to say this because the average, okay, when we start talking about people, we're talking about average people. And I'm hoping that I'm not hitting you as average, but if I am hitting you as average, then you have the ability to take the information that we're talking about and apply it and succeed with it, right? So I've been a person that has followed. I've been a person that has led. And I'm going to say that when you start looking at great leaders, they're also great followers. Because every great leader is following somebody, something, somewhere, somehow. They're following someone, whether it's a direct following or indirect following. Even when we start talking about pastors, messages that they give, they're following someone. So I wanted to talk about submitting your way to success. And so one of the things that when we start talking about submission, and we're going to talk about some different types of submission or different examples more so, not different types. We're going to talk about some different examples of submitting and how we can submit our way to success. So one of the things, and I'm going to say this, from last night, guys, the Winning Wives had an amazing event here at our home. And I'm going to say, ladies, if you missed it, because it was a lot of people here.
That was
a lot of women.
Thank you.
It was a lot of women here. If you missed it, shame on you. And so one of the things that Winning Wives talked about this past week on their conference call was submitting and submission. And I thought I'm like, oh, wow, that is really like, how does that fit into us as individuals and being able to apply success principles to our lives and even be able to prosper? Because a lot of times we see submission as a sign of weakness, right? I'm here to tell you submission is not a sign of weakness.
Not at all.
If you have the ability to submit, okay? If you have the ability to submit, you are a very strong person. You have a discipline that the average person don't have. And I'm not talking about submitting and then causing havoc, okay? Because there's some of us that will submit and they'll follow until it's not convenient for you to follow anymore. It's not convenient for me. And so I want Kim to kind of share a little bit about what the Winning Wives conference call was, because I'm gonna be the first to say, even in the husband's huddle, my wife gives us that space. So we respect the space of the women as well. So I don't typically, actually, I've never sat in on a Winning Wives conference call ever. So what they talk about is basically what they talk about. So I just want to make sure that we understand and that you guys understand that, we do take the privacy of the wives and the privacy of the husbands very serious, okay? But I want her to share in how and what that they really discussed in the Winning Wives, because as she starts sharing her notes with me after the fact, I was like, wow, right? So, Kimberly, let's talk about some of the things that you guys talked about as far as submitting, and as you talk about those things of submitting that you guys talked about as far as wives, I want to parallel that to our daily lives as not just wives, but as men, not just as husbands, but as an employee or as a business owner, as a team leader, as a person that operates within your church, as a person that just in the community in general, So Kim, share some of those things, and we'll talk in dialogue as you go through.
Okay, we talked about submission and being submissive, and we started off by just giving the definition of submission and submissive. And the definition was submission is a noun, and it just basically said the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or the will of authority of another person. Now that is the noun, but you had another definition saying ready to conform to the authority or the will of others, being meekly and obedient. So that's basically, these things are basically saying, the same thing, falling up under authority. Not that we really kind of, submission and submissive can go so many different ways. So we kind of touched on, because there was the cliche of saying, you don't tell me what to do. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. You're not my mom and you're not my dad. And that's not what it is based down to. And so it has been taken out of content. And those words have been taken out of content. So when you say it, everybody come up and, the wives were on the group like, no, I don't know about that. I can't do that. But those were the definitions that we took, and then I'll give it back over.
Hold on one second though. So I want you to be thinking of this, okay? As she's talking about these definitions, I don't want you to look at it from a controlling standpoint.
Right.
Do not look at being do not look at submission or being submittive, okay, or submitting. Do not look at this as a situation of control. I want you, instead of looking at it from a standpoint of control, I want you to look at it from the standpoint of having a mentor. Okay? Because when you have a mentor, that means that you've accepted someone in your life that has a little bit better experience in something that you're trying to acquire. One of the things that I found in coaching people is that they don't want to submit to a different ideology of thinking.
A different mindset.
A different mindset. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and then we just used one base as a reference scripture.
Okay.
Ephesians 5:22 through 24. And it was just saying, it started off saying, wives, submitting yourself to your husband, submitting yourself to one another. And it just basically, that was the key, well, not the key, but that's the what do you call it? The scripture that we use, the base scripture that we use for that one, yeah. And also, I used another one. It was Titus 2:4, saying, also train the young women to love their husband and children. So it's still, just as Anthony said, it's not about a control type thing. It's merely you're here, and merely someone being able to lead you to the point to where you're trying to get to be able to reach the goal that you're merely trying to get. And that means your mindset has to change. Your mindset has to be willing to, first of all, listen. Right. You know what I mean? That's the first thing. Right. Stop talking and listen.
And so here, by the way, Minister Moore told me to tell you smile.
Yeah, I saw that. He made me smile. I'm smiling.
Excuse me. So, hey, look. So, where do we end up failing at? Okay? And so, and how can we prevent the fail? And the way, how can you submit your way to success? Again, you have mentors, you have people in your life that you trust. Now, I'm going to tell you, a lot of us are listening to the wrong people. Okay? A lot of us listen to the wrong people. A lot of us have mediocre examples in our lives, and we're falling into that situation and circumstance, and then we wonder why we don't have any results more than what the person that we're submitting ourselves to, because we can submit. You can submit to the wrong people. You can submit to the wrong type of thinking. You can submit to something that is to your detriment. Okay, so understand that it's not just about submitting, but making sure that you submit to the right person, that you submit to the right people. And one of the things that submission does is submission creates an element of accountability. Okay, that's another reason why a lot of us don't want to submit, or we don't want to follow, or we don't want to be in a leadership position, because in leadership you do have to submit, you do have to follow somebody else, you do have to be accountable. And so, one, we look at submitting as being weak. And then two, we look at submission or being submitted or submitting, that there's a point of accountability that we have to place in order to see what's going on, or to propel. We have a responsibility to propel the people that are submitting to us. Okay? And so one of the things that I like to see with leaders is not just the fact that the people are submitting to them, but the leader submits to the people that he's leading or she's leading as well. How does that play out? How are you able to get to that level to where you can say, you know what, I'm the leader, but I believe that this person over here might have a little bit better information for me or for us as a group. Let's follow him. Okay?
I want to tell you what, you called him pastor. I don't know what you...
I did.
But he said minister. He said, this is the only point in my wedding that my lovely wife paused when the submission part of the vows was read, but she got through it.
Wow. I gotta think about this. I say, good. Am I gonna? And you know, and here we've talked about a lot of different things over the past weeks. You know, one of the things that I will say in submitting, if you have a problem submitting, then ask yourself, what is your commitment level? What is your commitment level to your success? Okay, not just in your marriage, but what is your commitment level at work? Are you submitting, but at the same time, are you causing havoc? Are you disgruntledly submitting?
So you're saying, so you're basically saying it's not submission. It's not only because when you think of submission, the first thing people think of is marriage,
Right?
relationships. That's the first thing to think of, and it's true. It's there, as well as submission can go on in your daily day-to-day life in different things. Anthony just said your job, just saying, you know, others. It falls in different categories. That's why I said it in the beginning. Submission, being submissive, and submission can go in
So many different ways.
So yeah.
And so, you know, as Bernard just said, and basically said, submitting is a requirement to fulfill a purpose. I so agree. Because guess it's if you have a purpose and you're wanting to fulfill that purpose, there's certain principles and laws that guess what you're gonna have to do to. You're gonna have to submit to them.
Yeah, that's, you know, you said the word law. When I was looking it up and we were talking about this and talking about this submission last week, it was saying how in our day-to-day life, as well as we all know submitting to the higher power, which is God. It also said, talked about laws. We submit to the laws every day. You speed, you break the law, you're going to get a ticket. It's all about falling under that category and doing and obeying the law.
Understanding that submission, understanding what really
and also
submission is.
it gave it, we were talking about as far as the children. You go to school, you sit in the school, they sit, the teacher's before them, they're doing what the teacher, either you go submit and do what she says, or guess what? I don't think they stand in a corner anymore, but I know there's some type of consequence for not being able to fall and do in a timely sense. If it's time to test, you fall in line of that testing category, or what is it?
You spent a lot of time in the corner, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I spent the time. I was the one that was at the desk, and I sat in the front so I could learn and laugh at you when you were in the corner.
Oh, I spent time in the corner.
That's what I did.
I ain't even shame. I knew how many cracks and everything was on that one block. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those things. My mama's gonna probably call me like, "You cut up in school, so you gonna admit it now?"
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I cut up bad. But anyway, you know, it's it's one of those things. And I'm gonna say, you know, it's one of those things that I'm gonna say that failing to submit. Okay, when we fail to submit,
is it consequences for that?
Oh yes, it's consequences. You know,
I mean, I know there's consequences, but some of us, because I used to think myself. No,
not you.
No, don't do that.
Reverend.
No.
Not you, Reverend.
Don't do that. No, I used to think, and even when it comes to you, I used to think the first thing in my mind. No, seriously, I did say, "He don't tell me what to do." I really did.
Oh,
I said that.
I think you say that now.
Dude, I don't say that anymore. Not out
Any
loud.
less either.
Not out loud.
Yeah, see, exactly.
I'm just playing.
You're not. You're telling the truth
I don't say it as in you don't tell me what to do. I just say to myself, honestly, I just say, okay, we'll see. That's what I say. Honestly, I'm being honest. I say we'll see because now I have a different mindset. I'm open. I'm more open to see the way that being able to trust, right?
Right.
When you are in a leadership position, that means you have gained someone's trust. Right? They trust you to lead them.
It has to be in a situation of leadership, because a lot of times
you trust your leader that they're going to give you the information.
Every person. Okay, so here let's go back, because understand this: being in a position does not classify you as a leader. Leadership.
No. Right.
Right.
Okay, so maybe I should say that. But when you are a leader, when you're following,
When you're a true leader, and you
leader,
have people that are following you,
they trust you. So
Right.
this is what I'm saying. My mindset had to clip back and had to say, okay, all right, you have to at least give it a try.
Right.
Not just knock it out the park before, and say what I said. I did say it. Don't tell me what to do.
Okay,
Switch.
How do we get to a point of being motivated to submit? We've got to change our mindsets from, as Bernard has been saying, is from me to we. When it's not about just you, right?
Yeah.
So failing to submit, what is your motivation to submitting? My motivation to submitting is the ability to win. The players on the basketball team or on the football team, they submit to the coaches, okay? And so when they don't submit to the coach, or the coach doesn't have the information that they need in order to win, then the whole team loses, okay? Submission also is the ability to follow that person that the company has put in leadership. Now, I will say this: when you have a great leader will tell you that they don't know everything, and they want to hear from the people that they've been entrusted to lead. Okay, a great leader will come and sit down and say, "Hey, look, what do you think about this?" One of the things that I can say that has been a great challenge to me when making that change to the RV industry, going to work at Camping World, the general manager, Joseph, that I have now, he's not going to let you sit there and just follow him and him not ask you any questions. Hey, look, why is this? Can you look at this? What do you think about this? How does this look? What if you did this, then how? So that kind of stretches your mind. So when you have a person like that, it's easy to submit to that person. It's very easy to submit to that person. So I'm going to flip the script a little bit and ask, if you're in a leadership role or you're in a position of lead at work, are you easy to be submitted to? Or do you make it hard for people to submit to you?
Some make it hard. Some make
a lot
it
of
really
people
hard,
make it very hard.
Especially when they're not used to having the authority and they begin to use it
and abuse
it. And so then at that point, it's hard for you to, sit and listen to them, because then that falls in the category of lack of respect.
Right.
You don't respect, you listen to what they have to say and you follow suit and what they're asking you to do, but the respect, you're not really performing to the capacity, because the lack of respect is not there, right? And so that falls in, and that also falls in, it could watch this, it could fall in the thing on our daily life, and also if the respect of the husband is not there. Is that true?
Yeah, so
even though you want it to be,
you want it right. So
if out of respect,
if you go back to if you look at the situation of submission, okay, or submitting, regardless of whether you respect the person or not, you still have to submit. Regardless of whether you agree with the law that the law says that you shouldn't be driving over 70 miles an hour, regardless, you still got to submit.
Regardless of the law.
Regardless of the law. So understand this. Regardless
of the law, saying how go fast, how fast.
I don't drive fast. I don't drive fast. You the one who's driving 90 something the other day.
It's a flat out snitch.
And throwing me back and forth in the car like we on NASCAR.
Don't tell the people lies. But they're not looking for lies.
So understand this. It's submission is a very powerful tool that is necessary for you to win, for you to succeed. You're going to have to follow somebody, and it's going to be either a direct following or an indirect following. What I mean by a direct following is that you have a mentor that you are accountable to. Or it might be a book that you read, or a CD, or a video that you may watch. You may watch a TED Talk. You may watch something on YouTube that says, hey, changing of your mindset. I want to say this morning that it's okay to submit, because one of the synonyms of submission is to follow. It's okay to follow somebody. Somebody else has already acquired success. Somebody else has already reached that plateau of place that you want to acquire.
It said meekly obedient.
Right. And so, it's not like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not being meek.
Yeah.
It's not that, the thing of it is that, especially when we're coaching people, it's free will. Mm-hmm. Just like God has already coached us. He coached us through the Bible. He's already given us the laws and the rules of success, the natural
principles.
And it's of nature. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so understand when you start looking at the laws and principles of nature, okay, that God established from the beginning, you have to submit to those laws. If you don't submit to those laws, it's not enough just to take a few things out of the Bible. I guess I do that because that's easy. Yeah. I'm going to do that. That's easy.
Yeah. I also read, when we talked about on the women's, on the conference call, we was talking about what you're saying. God's given us the principles about, being submissive. And also it stated, guess what? The 10 commandments could be an example of being submissive. And number one, it said us being submissive to higher authority, which is God. He said, well, love one another. It was as simple as that. Love one another. That is a principle that you could use to love one another, and that's in everyday day-to-day life.
I want to Minister Moore. I want to read his response because this is what You Prosper is so about. Mm-hmm. Okay, he says some folks are so used to control. Submission is hard if you're used to being in control. Mm-hmm. Okay, but when a person learned that it's not about power. When I taught Sunday school, I wasn't standing up front teaching, but I had the deacon bring me a table so we could all sit around the table. And just like he said, I told him I didn't know everything. I didn't do all the open prayer. I didn't do all the reading. I made it a group setting, even though I was in leadership, and they loved this. And each other, them love or everybody else loved the class. So, and that's what You Prosper is about. So, as you guys decide if you want to come sit down with us for a few minutes on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, as long as you don't have a problem with it being aired, we're sitting at a table. Mm-hmm. It's not, and basically as people decide they want to come and study with us, because this is a study, this is more of a discussion. It's not something that we're saying, hit over head, you're going to do this, and up, you don't pop, you don't do. It's not that type of party. No.
You know why? Because you'd have got popped by now.
Man, please. It'd be two sets of lights coming. A red set.
Don't do it to the people.
And a blue set.
Listen.
That red set have been yours.
India said, did you read her comment? Said, it's hard, but submission is both ways, and it's trying to continue with it is the problem of control.
Right. I agree with that. And that's what Minister Moore was just basically saying as well. Just when people start talking about, submission, okay. Now, in the book of Ephesians, it talks about the wife submitting to the husband. But if you go to the verses or so that are before that, it says, submitting yourselves one to another. And we forget that.
Yeah.
We don't forget it. We just choose not to
deal with it. Yeah, it does. It says
my eyes are blurred until it says wife submit. My eyes are blurred.
So you didn't see that before.
And they clear up when they start coming down. But we have to. But that's how you win.
That's mad crazy.
You win because you're able to to accept somebody else's opinion. You're able to submit to somebody else's thinking.
That mindset has to change, though.
It has to change.
It has the mindset. Again, that's what I said. That's what I had to do. My whole mindset had to take a 180, not a 360, because 360 will put you right back in the same spot.
Right,
but a 180 in my way of thinking. That means thinking no longer just basically about me, but thinking about us. Am I doing by me, let's see, bucking up against him, or by me not being submissive to per se, am I getting our team where we need to get to help us to go forward, to meet the goals and to meet the to meet the goals that we're trying to get to? Am I doing that? Am I being a hindrance? Am I really being a hindrance in doing that?
So DB asked, which is, that's my cousin, right? You know what I'm saying? That's my people.
Sorry, DB. Sorry that you can.
Okay. So her question was, I would like your opinion. Is husband submission to God a requirement before a woman submits to the husband? I think that's an excellent question. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to say this, though. Let me go back to okay. Is the husband's submission to God a requirement? No, I don't believe that his submission to God is a requirement before you submit. So because I'm gonna rephrase the question to you. Okay, is it okay to do somebody wrong because they're wrong? A lot of times we have to. Even though our spouse may not be thinking on the level that they should be thinking, they're not doing the things that they should do responsibly to the home. There's still the respect and the submission, because understand this: if we take it to the Bible didn't say wives submit yourselves to your husband if. It wasn't conditional.
Is that her question, though? She said, is the husband's submission to God
a requirement before the wife? Mm-hmm. No, it's not. It's not. If you married a man that's not saved and he's not saved, but you married him, your submission is still to him, regardless. The thing of it is that what we like to do is we like to
So you're saying it's not based on stipulation? It's not
a stipulation, it's commitment. Your commitment to being married. What is your commitment to being married? Okay? Are you only committed during the time that he's right, or you only committed during the time that she's right? So we have to take that and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I need to submit. And because understand this, your submitting to him will make him have to submit to you. And as he submits to you, then you can make that suggestion of, hey, look, let's grow your relationship, or let's grow our relationship as Christians and be more engaged in a God-like atmosphere.
So you're saying, because I think you're saying she said, is husband's submission to God a requirement? So he shouldn't, you're not saying him not to submit to God.
I'm not saying that.
Okay. But just make that clear, because that's what she was asking.
No, she's asking that.
Is your husband's submission to God a requirement
before a woman submits? Right. So what you're saying is, what she's actually saying is, let's say, for instance, I wasn't submitted to God. I'm not submissive toward God. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you still have to submit toward me? Mm-hmm. Do you still have to submit to me because I'm not submitting to God? Mm-hmm. That's a question.
Okay.
D, I hope that answered your question. Because submission is something that's not conditional. I don't see that as being a conditional rule. Just as whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. There's not a condition there that says if it rains in that area, then it's not a conditional scenario. It's not a conditional situation. And so we can't make submission something of condition, just like we can't make the commitment that we have to our spouses a condition. We all of our commitments, though, basically are really conditional. we're committed to that job or we're committed to that business as long as. Okay? We're committed to that friend as long as. It's very conditional. Our lives are based on conditions. However, the thing that shouldn't be based on condition is our love, our commitment, and our ability to submit one to the other. Okay? I hope that answered your question. Great morning, Natasha. How's the baby doing? I'm looking forward to the day that you walk out the hospital with that baby girl. So, let's see here. Red, my friend, you said, is being a Christian a requirement for a successful relationship, or does that come along the way?
He had a comment before that. Something I have learned along the way. I have always been the boastering person.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say this. Excuse me. There are a lot of people that are in our society that have successful marriages, have success in life, in corporate, in their personal life, just all around, that are not Christian. Okay? One thing that those people do have in common, though, is that they follow principles and the laws of nature that were created by God to begin with. Just because God created those laws and he created those principles don't mean that other people of other faith can't follow them and get the results that we get. Okay? So is it a requirement for a successful relationship? I'm going to say no, because that basically says that everybody who's not a Christian has a failing relationship, and that's not the case.
India had a question. Could submitting be humbled with the changing of the mindset?
Yes. That's a very good question. I believe that submitting does bring about a certain amount of humbleness.
Well, it also had humility and meekness about it, so that does bring you down.
Oh, Minister Moore said, okay, enjoyed this. Getting ready to check out of hotel. She stopped smiling again. Yeah, smile, girl.
Okay.
Smile. It's amazing, though, because our passion, a lot of times our passion can create a situation where we get so focused that, we forget to smile, because these are things that, that what we look back and say, Dad, what really set us apart from our previous results. I'm not saying that we had crazy results before. We have crazy results now, like crazy results. And how are we able to get to that next level? How are we able to get to that next level of success has all depended on us looking at submission different. It had to do with our commitment level. It had to do with a lot of the things that we've already shared, and we're going to continue to share through You Prosper. I want to encourage those of you that are having relationship issues, situations, circumstances, or if you've won in your situation, if you won in your marriage, if you won, get involved with one of our community groups, Married to Stay Married. The Husband's Huddle is on Monday nights at 8:30. There's some information that I will be posting in reference to the Husband's Huddle. It's amazing to hear the men talk about the successes and things that they've acquired through the week. So we're able to talk about these things on a weekly basis and be able to apply the principle that we applied in order to get the result. Seriously, you're doing yourself injustice. We have these programs and these groups in place in the community, and we're doing everything we can to try to make this easy and there's something of non-cost to you. Because I realize that a lot of I'm not shooting at churches, but a lot of churches are pulling at your finances, and they're pulling so hard at your finances that you can't even see straight. You're trying to wonder how to pay your bills and things of that nature, and I gave my 10%, and then here again tomorrow. Now, we've got pastor's anniversary, or we got the choir's anniversary, or we got this that we're doing, and the church becomes a government within itself that has taxes that are taxed the people to death. We're doing everything that we can not to tax anybody. And of course, we do ask for donations and things like that, but I'm not going to come out and be like, oh, we need $100 for... And please do not take that as me taking a shot at the church, because I'm not. But I want you to understand that there are programs out there and there's situations, there's support out there. We're here to help hold your arms up when you don't want to hold them up. We're here to hold your arms up. When you're wanting to get to that next level of success and be able to have that win, we're here. Right? And so we have so many different resources that are throughout the group. Michelle Edlin, she's a great motivational coach as well. She's a part of Married to Stay Married. I mean, we've got a lot of support. And so as we start seeing, as we coach people, you may end up having to go to somebody else that may be able to reach you a little bit better. But I want you to understand that what we offer here is free. And yeah, okay, if you wanted to donate to the cause, then you can go to youprosper.life and donate to the cause. And I want to make sure that those that do donate, that we do give you something, because I want you to have something of immediate return in your hand for what you invest. Because anything that you give to us is an investment to yourself. I promise you that. So let's see here. Natasha, stay focused, going to get back in church. All right, cool. So let's see here. Natasha, it's hard for me to just shut up when I know he is wrong in a disagreement. But then we would go into 1,000. I have to change my mindset. I'm working on trying to stop standing up against him like I'm the man. Great, Natasha. That's a great observation. Guess what happens a lot of times? A lot of times we have to submit to wrong. That's just what it is.
Even when you know it's wrong, even though you can say in your mind, you can say, I'm trying to tell you, the best way I can. I'm trying to tell you, but that's where that comes in, that changing on the mindset. Being able to, that mindset can humble you so it can be a little bit easier, even though you say that he just very well might be wrong. But you're right, instead of trying to handle it the way that you've been doing it, it's not getting you the result that you need. So therefore, that should be another reason to change your mindset, to think about it differently, to react differently, to be able to learn from that. Okay, that took me that way, so let me just listen to everything that needs to be said, and then you two come together and lay the cards out on the table and be able to mediate. You know what I mean?
You got to be effective in your communication, and one of the things, we've got to get to a point of that submitting. Okay, even in the situation of one being wrong, and it's a wrong because you may have experienced it before, you may have crossed that bridge before. If your partner, your spouse hasn't crossed that bridge, sometimes you got to go across the bridge. And one of the things I will say is that in crossing that bridge of wrong, one thing about it is you made it on the other side of that wrong. And so one of the things that I had to learn is that Kim would say, Anthony, don't do that way. I can see that's going to blow up. Now, like, girl, that ain't going to blow up. It ain't going boom. And I'm like, oh my God, what in the world? And, and so I had to start understanding her view. I had to understand that my wife is all about, the mood. How does it make her feel? And that's how we, she and I now are able to leverage our relationship and say, okay, you know what? I'm in that mode. I'm in the mode to get there. She's all about, okay, well, it doesn't feel right. Okay, well, what is it that why does it not feel right? because it may be something that she's sensing that I'm not able to see because I'm in that mode. I don't see the train coming, or I see there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't realize it's a train. But she feels like it's a train because maybe she's feeling the vibration on the track. And so these are things that I had to understand and learn, that I had to submit to her strong point. Because I'm not 100% strong man. I'm not 100% strong point. I don't know everything. I'm not even going to pretend that I know everything. Okay? And so I had to understand that when she starts talking about her feelings, how she's feeling towards something, I had to understand that it was time for me to submit. My mode didn't mean we had to follow it, but I needed to submit to it and see where she's coming from and get a great understanding of why she's feeling the way she's feeling, so that Team Davis is not derailed, or we're not taking the long way around. Okay?
Kimberly has a question. If a wife being submissive to her husband is based on the Christian principles, why must a wife continue to be submissive if her husband is not submissive to God? It does not go hand in hand.
All right, so it is a biblical principle. Okay? It's in the Bible, but understand this. More importantly, it's really a natural principle. Because you don't have to be a Christian in order for submission to work in your favor. What happens is, because we see it's biblical, if my wife, and I'm going to ask you this, Emberly, and if it takes a minute to get back to me, I understand. I want to ask you this: where does it say in the Bible that if the husband isn't submissive that to God, that the wife shouldn't be submissive to him? Show that to me. Because a lot of times we're looking for that reason not to submit. You're looking for a reason not to submit. Not saying you in particular, because I think that's a great question. But when we're talking about being submissive in a relationship, being submissive in the marriage, the Bible never said that if your husband is not a believer. It never said if your husband was a Buddhist. It didn't say anything of that nature. It just said, "Wives, submit to your husband." It didn't say whether he was right or wrong. It just said, submit to your husband.
It said, well, I think what the Ephesians, remember the reference scripture that we had, it was Ephesians starting 5:22 and 24. And it said, 22 saying, wives, submit yourself to your own husband as you to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior.
Right.
Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also the wife submits to their husbands in everything.
Those are examples. You have to see that as an example and not as a law. And that's what it is. It's an example. Submit yourself. Why submit yourself to your husband as he submits himself to God. Okay, so it's an example, just as the church submits to Christ, so should the wife submit also so the wife should submit herself to her husband. These are examples. It's not directly saying if he ain't a Christian, don't follow him.
So you're saying don't take these verses, these scriptures, as being a direct.
It's not. Those are examples, and given the example of how we are submitting, or how we should submit to each other, really. Okay, because just as let me see that, because I want to make a point that in that it says follow God's example. So God was the example. Okay. Therefore, as dearly beloved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us. Do we walk in that way of love? Do we have that love for our husband? Do we have that love for our wives? So we start talking about, these are examples, okay, of how submit one to another out of reverence for Christ. That's out of reverence for Christ. Submit one to another. Did it make it a condition? Or is it conditional? Does it says, I'm going to submit to you because you're Christian, but being that you're not submitting to God? Nope. I'm not submitting. Okay, so we have to understand. We have to understand that we're not. The Bible has been bent to us and shaped in the way that it controls us to think different mindsets. Okay, so I want you to understand that religion, the Bible, was actually handed to us to control us. Actually, it was to control the productive capacity of the people, just as the banking industry has presented itself to us today to control the productive capacity of the mass people. Okay, Earl said that submission is about trust, and you know what, Earl, I'm 100% with you on that. I'm 100% because the thing of it is that if you're not giving me some results, if I can't see some results of activity or some results in reference to what you're asking me to follow you with, then it's very tough for me to follow. If you're telling me, hey, I got a financial solution to being broke, but I'm broke, and you don't see me elevating my financial situation, then I'm probably not going to submit to your financial ideology or your leadership as finances. So I agree with you 110%. I believe that submission is about being able to be a leader. Submission is about being able to be trusted.
Earl Warren also said it says it is biblical, but we submit to something. But we submit to someone every day on our jobs, to our bosses, to the law. Why then is it hard for our wives to accept submission to her husband, someone who she gave herself to and said
she will honor your husband with your trust and trust that he will do right by you? That's a great question. That's a great question. Mm-hmm. I think that again, it goes back to the beginning when we were talking about submission being a bad thing, right? We look at submission as, all right, if I submit to you, that means that you control me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. That's what we were saying on the conference call. The cliche of saying submissive, first thing they think about it. Well, we as women think about men, our spouses, trying to tell us what to do. So that's the first thing, and taking on the mindset. Even though it has been said, and you're asking that question. Why is it hard for us to do it? Because again, it's a trust factor. You got to trust. That wife has to, like I had to trust you and what was within you, that you would lead and follow your leadership and lead us to where we needed to go. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So it is a trust factor. It is taking on a total new mindset that even though it looks this way, things are not always the way it looks, but you still have to submit and trust your spouse, what's within them, that they are going to lead you, the family, or whatever the situation case may be, in the right direction to reach where you're trying to go. So that's having to take on a different mindset. If the mindset has not been taken on, then it is going to be a problem.
It's going to be a big problem.
It's going to be a problem. So that has to switch over, and it doesn't happen all at once. Like I said, not for me, but I had to slowly begin to turn that thing and turn it around, taking on a new mindset. I first had to be willing to try. That's the first thing. Having to be willing to try. You ain't willing to try, then there's an issue. But I had to, and once I start having a willing to try and begin to see the effectiveness, begin to see the results that we were getting, then it became a little bit easier. But even because you don't see those results, snap your fingers, because they didn't. I couldn't snap your fingers. Sorry. Instantly, that doesn't mean you stop. Oh, I don't see nothing changing, so that's why I ain't gonna do it. No. You have to continue to do it, because eventually, because it's the right thing to do.
You got to do the right thing, even though you're in a wrong situation. It's about integrity, right? It's doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. Integrity says that I'm gonna treat you right even when you treat me wrong. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, even when you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
That's integrity. All right. Sherelle has a question. Submission regarding marriage is about love and respect. Okay. Respect is founded upon love, but if disrespect is not love, then how can you submit to a man who's disrespectful? That goes back to, again, if I'm going to treat you right, even though you're treating me wrong, right? One of the best revenges that I learned, because I'm a very revengeful person, and have been all my life. I'm going to get you back, right? And so, but one of the greatest things that I've learned, the greatest feeling that you ever have is when you're mistreated and you still treat that person right. When that person dog you out, kick you in the back, talk junk about you, talk junk to you, degrade you, and then you turn around and smile in their face and do what they need you to do anyway.
Wait. And then she said that we were talking about that last night in the group where I did my my little thought for everyone. We were talking about a silent victory being the best victory. Not that you're gaining anything, but you really are, because you're keeping silent and you're still doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm saying, even in listening, even you're doing it because what you're I don't want to say, I say supposed to do. In the end, eventually it's gonna pan out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Eventually it's gonna separate itself out. Look,
So,
Earl
I saw that.
A
and
real
you know
word example about trust. Every time we get our tires on our cars rotated, do you check every lug on the wheels to ensure that the technician tightened them properly? I say no.
Earl, let me tell you something.
I don't either,
Earl.
I get in the car.
We go to Brent Crowder. We go to Brent Crowder, and guess what? Brent makes sure them tires and them lug nuts are going to be tightened up.
That's falling up under him. That's
hey, look, we
trusting him.
Trust Brent. Trust me. He's going to make sure they're tight, man.
Yes.
So, but the thing of it is that, how do we get to that point that we trusted Brent, right? And even though, Brent went to school with us, and Brent is a super great guy. One of the things I can say is, even when I'm down, man, Brent knows when to inbox me and be like, hey, man, pick your head up. Let's go. But the thing of it is that, how do we get to that point that we can submit to him with our cars? Right. And it had to come down to a point of trust. It had to come down to that point of understanding that he's an authority on vehicles, and that,
so
if you touch
it's just like when I go, something happens to my car. Well, not really happens to my car.
But if something...
But you say, Kim,
just take it to Brent.
Take it to Brent, because that trust has been established, and we trust the authority, him knowing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, oh my God.
He knows he's going to get Anthony knows he's going to get the result that I need for my car for it to continue to operate in the right manner. So
she can run 90, 95 mile an hour up and down 440.
What?
But anyway,
wait,
so
90?
Okay, so India says many people get confused about submission. Yes, they do.
You skipped over Bernard.
I'm sorry.
He said, I agree, submission has steps. It's a process.
It's
definitely
a process.
It doesn't happen overnight, and it's still, sometimes you still have your moments. I can only speak for me. I can, even though, like you said before, he may present something and in his mode, it may be right, but my mood will make me, that don't sound right. But just because it doesn't sound right to me doesn't mean it's not going to be effective or get us where we need to get to, because I can't go off of my feeling. Because if I go off of my feelings, we be on a roller coaster.
All right. So India says many people get confused about submission. We think that it means that we must do everything in authority tell us to do, no matter what it is. In Colossians 3:18, we should be submissive only as it is fit in the Lord. We need to
free and be security in our godly submission.
Okay, so I'm going to say this because that scripture, or that you're making reference to, kind of makes it sound as though that you're questioning the fact of whether we should do everything that someone in authority that we've chosen to submit to says. Okay, I'm going to say this. What is going 70 miles an hour or 70 mile an hour speed limit have to do with God? It doesn't have anything to do with God. But you're going to submit to it because it's right. And so
it's the law.
Right, it's the law. Right? And so in order to get the results that you're needing to get, in order to get to the point that you can be heard through your submission, I don't think that we have the ability to choose our submission toward a particular thing or not. And so, because basically what you're saying is that I get to decide really what I want to be submissive toward. I don't want to follow you today because I don't think you and God got it right. You didn't wake up with God this morning.
That's basically, yeah, and that's not, so it's not based upon, again, it's not based upon conditions and circumstances only. It's not partiality like this and that. It's not wavering. It's
either you don't follow, you're not.
Oh, you're not. It's one or the other. Because that's when it's wavering like that, then guess what? To be honest, there's no.
It's double-minded.
Yeah, but there's no trust.
And guess what that means?
Unstable.
Unstable in how many ways?
Oh, in every way it is. Yeah.
So, again, I want to.
Sherelle said, so submit to leadership and not to spouses who a tyrant or superior being, just a thought.
Okay, so if you're going to submit to, and this is the problem I have with men. Okay, I have a problem with. I'm gonna just break it down. I have a problem with church that the pastor tells you to submit to him because your husband's not in church. I got a problem with that. I got a serious problem with that. If you feel like your submission needs to be to your pastor instead of your husband, then go marry your pastor. If your submission is to somebody else outside, or your commitment is to somebody else outside your marriage, so much to the point where you can't be go marry them.
Yeah, I can understand that. Cheryl said, "Okay, never mind. I understand." Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. So because what you're wanting results, you're wanting certain results within, let's just say, the marriage, right? So you're wanting those results. So typically your spouse is the one that you should be submitting unto, because you're trusting he's going to get you where you guys want to
where you go. That's why excuse me, that's why when we coach within Married to Stay Married, the first thing we do is we sit down with the couples.
What their goals are.
What are your goals?
Yeah.
Because the thing of it is that nobody can lead anybody anywhere. No one can even say, I can't submit to you if I don't know where you're going. You can't submit to me if I don't know where we're going. So we ask, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What is it your dream life looks like? What is it that you want to accomplish for your team?
That's a good point, though. Back up to what you said. You said you can't submit to anybody if you don't know where they're going. Either one of you don't know where they're going.
Right.
It's already kind of not skeptical, but it's already feel kind of funny when you can't see where they're trying to get you to. So that part is already kind of
that's like getting in a taxi cab and just and he don't ask you where you're going, or Uber, and he doesn't say where you're going.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course it goes on the app, but if you got in a taxi cab and you didn't know where it was going, or you got on the city bus and didn't know where it was going, guess what you just did? And eventually you're going to want to get off that bus. You're going to want to get out of that taxi cab. You're going to want to make that change. And so when you don't know where you guys are headed, when you don't know, then I understand saying, okay, you know what? We need to sit down.
Has to kick in.
It has to kick in, but we have to sit down and we've got to be able to communicate so that submission can get back into play. Because the one thing I will say is that the Bible tells us that one put chase to 1,000 and two 10,000. Why is it that those two can put chase to 10,000? Because they're submitting one to the other.
And there's power in it.
They're power in numbers, but the power if you got 10 people in this one room, you got 10 people, but all 10 people are headed in a different direction, where's your power? We're still individuals. We don't become two or three or more until we all speaking the same thing.
Mindset.
Guess what? In the book of Acts, it talked about the Holy Ghost falling in the upper room, and it didn't say that they were having church service. The organ wasn't playing. It said they were all on one accord. They were speaking the same thing.
Right.
Guess what? So they were submitting one to another.
One to another. That's right.
All right. So look. We ran a little bit over time this morning. I hope that everyone enjoyed the discussion. Please meet us back here next week at 10 o'clock. We're going to do this every Sunday, 10 o'clock. And so invite someone to take a look at this with you. Or if you have to, you can go look at it on our website, and you can make comments on our website at U, and that's the letter U, prosper.life. And so you can go there. We have a page. You are going to need some login information. You can log in with your Facebook or your Google, or you can create your own login at that point, so that we can see who we're dialoguing with, so we can have some dialogue. We welcome
feedback.
Dialogue.
We love feedback.
Welcome.
Tell us, because we don't know everything.
I don't know everything.
And,
I promise you.
And don't know how to do everything right. We're still, every day it's a learning process. And we're still learning. We're in that process daily, learning. But if there's something that you may know that could help us, or vice versa, we can do that. And also, we're interested. Maybe we need to, if you have a certain topic that you want to, discuss, and it's really...
so I'm gonna open up to, you're gonna probably kill me, but look. So if you want to join us for a Sunday discussion, if you want to join us for a Sunday discussion, you can come here. And I'm gonna be honest. It's gonna be 10 to 11 o'clock. We're gonna be done. We're gonna be shutting it down and whatnot, because I do actually go to work at noon on Sundays. Won't be going this Sunday because, of course, I've been sick, and I'll go back to work tomorrow. But 27 Genoa Lane, Clayton, North Carolina, 27527. If you want to come, you want to discuss, you want to come in on the discussion, and you want to be able to talk about some things, or you want to be able to ask questions, we welcome you. Okay. Now, I do want you to, if you're going to come, I need you to tell me you're coming and how many, so that we can make sure that we have provisions and things.
Said, good lesson. It will change my mindset. Waleed said, hi, Anthony.
What up, Waleed? Man, I forgot what you look like, man.
You said hey to Anthony, but you didn't say hey to me.
I forgot what you look like, man. Where you been? Where y'all been? Do we need to put a wanted sign out? You know what I'm saying? I keep hearing y'all say y'all gonna come to an event, but you ever see them?
Did you?
I think they Casper.
Did you just do that?
Yeah. But anyway, so look, again, 27 Genoa Lane, Genoa Lane in Clayton, North Carolina, 27527. If you want to come in for a discussion on a Sunday morning from 10 to 11, look, we welcome it. Okay? Also, Husbands Huddle tomorrow night, 8:30. Hey, look, it's an amazing conference call. It's an amazing group of men that are sharing how they're winning in life, and how they are progressing in their marriage, and how they're taking the lead and taking charge and being in that place to where that wife can trust to submit to. All right. So please don't forget that. Do you guys have any other announcements? You Winning Wives have anything going on?
We're having, I'll be posting when our next conference call will be, because it will be in February. Matter of fact, it is February the Valentine's is on a Wednesday, right? The 15th. Yes. So it's going to be February the 16th. It's going to be the next conference call for Winning Wives. So I will have that posted, and I will have the dates up. And this week we also will be choosing our book for the book club, which will be launching in March. We have 2 books. Women of Destiny by Cindy Jacobs, and the next one is Deborah's Company by James Hammond. So look out for that, because we will be having a post for that, so we can choose on which book we're going to start, so we can get our book club launched off and get it moving.
If you're not successful in life, it's not because you don't have the tools. Okay? It's not because you don't have the tools, because we're laying it out there to the community. And I'm not saying that we're perfect or anything of the nature. And I'm not saying without us you can't be successful. What I am saying though, if you're needing that boost, because it was something that boosted me to that place of becoming a student to personal development and a student to leadership, it was something that something similar to this that sparked my interest into developing my mindset and having, so I can have different results. All right. We love you guys.
Love you. It's nothing you can do about it.
Hey, look, put a smile on your face.
Smile. No.
Look, Daddy,
why did you
ruin my little $1 moment?
Why did you do that, dude? You ended. If they didn't want to get off, you just made them get off. Said, I think somebody commented under here and said that stick to your 9 to 5
You know what? If lying,
job,
hey, look,
and
I know,
because singing didn't work out for you.
You know what?
That's what they said.
Fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Stay tuned for the next week's topic of discussion. All right. Love you. Have a great day.